I don't know why that just kept on giving for several seconds. What's with all the tea? Just comfort?
Tea.
Are you on a tea jag?
It probably makes no sense. You know how I don't let myself have more than 2 cups of coffee?
Mm-hmm.
So then instead I switched to tea.
Okay. What? Decaffeinated tea?
No.
Oh.
Like, no, this is chai.
Oh. Interesting.
But I figure less caffeine, maybe? No.
I don't think so. It's like one of those things where they say darker coffee, darker roasts have less caffeine than lighter roasts. So basically, whatever you think is going on with the caffeine in something, it's the opposite. So tea is less caffeine.
So tea is probably more.
It's probably more.
Actually, I think I've heard that. That, like, yeah, black tea.
I've definitely heard it. I don't know if it's accurate.
So those British people are just, like, hopped up all the time.
Yeah, they're always having tea and it's always got sugar in it.
And that's the other thing. So I do not like sugar in coffee.
I know.
Sugar in tea.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So you
and it's like a dessert. Like, for me, that's how I treat it. I'm like, ooh, I have tea.
You put sugar every time you have tea?
Not every time. Usually, like, I start off. So it's like starts off really sugary. And then because I keep, like, going back for refills, it gets less and less.
Because you don't add sugar.
I don't add it. So it's like, gets more and more diluted. Yeah, what a treat. Indulging here.
Whatever, I've been having like small handfuls of cocoa bunnies. Being like, fuck it! Not really.
How was the workout today? Is it getting any easier?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow's the day off, but I'm one day behind everybody else, so I'm thinking of just skipping the day off, and if I don't skip it, then I'll be on the same day as everyone else.
Right.
Because I started a day late.
Yes, I
Remember, I woke up and was like, "What's happening?" I wasn't ready for anything.
Are you allowed to do that? Skip a recovery day? Does it ruin everything?
Probably. But last night I slept like 9 hours. That helps with the soreness and stuff.
Sleeping? Yeah.
Oh!
What?
I forgot to have my protein shake.
Do you need to go make it?
I mean, I did eat a bunch of tofu. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. You can have your protein shake for the party.
Yeah.
And cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, it's my grandfather's 100th birthday, the 18th, which is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to like record a message, and it's quite a lot that one could say about him. It's not one of those like coming up with many things to say.
Yeah.
It's not one of those situations. He's quite a human.
Is he?
Yeah. Yeah. He was the first kid from his village to go to college. He actually was like in the field when he was a kid, and saw some kid walking by. And he was like, "Where are you going?" And the kid was like, "School." And he was like, "Okay." So I hope I wouldn't be straight. That's the story at least.
What? Really?
Yeah. And the kid was like, "All right." And he just like went with him and then kept going, and used to like have to walk like miles to school every day and miles back, and like go across border and carry his books on his head and shit. And then he became an aeronautical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 18 brothers and sisters. He like supported many of them.
Where was he in the family?
I'm actually not sure. I don't think he was either very late or very early. Like I think somewhere in there. Because I don't really remember. Yeah, and when I was a kid, I remember him like doing the craziest shit. Like he'd climb coconut trees and stuff like that. It was amazing. He could fix anything. So you know those like those brightly colored night dress things that I wear?
Yeah.
He made them.
He made. Oh. Yes, I think you told me that.
Because he can do anything.
Yeah.
Like he started by like fixing planes and shit.
Yeah.
And then as he got older, but he was interested in everything. Cooking, like his garden is kind of like mine. He had like a cashew tree and a this and mango and papaya and banana and all these different things. So in some ways we're like very alike. I wish I was more like him. He's very unself-conscious and kind of like yeah. I never doubted for a second that he would make it to it. He had quadruple bypass surgery when I was like 8.
Mm.
And it was very dramatic. And
It was fine. It's like, yeah, of course, it's me.
and it was fine.
Wow. What's his name?
George.
George. Video Sada?
No, my mom's.
Oh, right. What's his last name?
Silva.
Silva. George Silva.
Yep. And it's George and Martha.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And yeah, there are unending stories about him. I remember him. So when that coconut tree got really tall, there was a balcony terrace type thing in the house that they lived in when I was a kid, when we were visiting. And he put like a pole and like jammed one side of the pole, one edge of the pole into the middle of the tree, and put the other on the railing and walked across it to get
Coconuts?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I don't know if I've told you this before, but there are times when I like jump up. I'm always jumping on the counters to get stuff, and I was like, I wonder if there's a point at which I like shouldn't do this because maybe I'm gonna fall and break my head.
Yeah.
Like when am I gonna be too old to be doing stuff like this?
Yeah.
And part of me is like, I think it's that same thing. Of course, I would never do the things that he did, but my parents fully are like, when I jump on the counters.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's my mother. I need to tell her about the thing.
Okay.
So, hi, mother.
I just popped the flag.
It's okay. We're already on actually. So 7:30, right? 11:30 your time? Mama, don't be funny. Oh, 7:30. Right. Sorry. I can't do basic mathematics. Goodbye. My mother is very like him.
Yeah. Wonder.
Mm-hmm. There's very little recognizing of limitations.
Yeah.
Which I think I have some of that as well. Yeah, he's one of the most like determined, but like casually determined.
Yeah, it
Like
sounds
he's not
like
he's not like effortful.
no. It sounds like he's just like, oh, okay, I'll go do that now.
Yeah, he's a lot like had a lot of energy, and he refused to bribe anyone, which doesn't go over well. So this like land case, because of course like half his relatives stole a bunch of land and blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah, and he went for like decades and sat in the court. It's like never gone through because he refuses to pay people, and that's just kind of how it's done. Maybe not everywhere, but certainly there.
Yeah.
Um,
So he's also got moral character.
like maybe it possibly is to a self-defeating level.
Yeah.
But yeah, he refused all this.
He's like a Ned Star.
Exactly.
Except he's still alive.
Except he's turning 100.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's
Yeah.
good someone to have in the family.
no. It makes the whole notion of ancestry like seem meaningful.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's why your family's your family.
it's just my mother's son.
On your dad's side.
They're a whole other bunch.
Yeah. So your dad is a very impressive man. What was his dad like?
His dad was the best. The way he is with Ishan is exactly how my grandfather was with me.
Yeah.
He's also like the cutest. I don't know if I have any pictures, but I might text my dad right now and send me one. He was the best. He used to come. He's the one who didn't smell like anything. He used to come and visit us in Uchi, and he'd be so cold. He'd still come and visit us, but he'd be like not having a bath for days, and it would be. You would never know. So this day, I'm always like amazed that my dad even does bother to bathe. Because I'm like, well, nobody would ever know.
So strange. Some people just don't smell.
Yeah, they really don't. No, my dad's mother's dad was governor. He's impressive as well. My father's mother's. They're all in their different ways. But maybe everybody is a future self.
I feel like you have to live up to the family line.
I should feel like that.
Or are you already living up to
What
it?
line?
I don't know. Such a
I never know which line is your line.
like you mean between your mom and your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think both of them.
I'm a little bit devastated that there's not going to be any Vidyasagar's.
Yeah. But no, there's not going to be any grants.
I don't know. There's no cousins.
Oh. Actually, that's so weird. There are cousins,
Male.
but they're not having children.
Male
Why aren't they
cousins.
having children?
You need to get on them
Yeah, male cousins.
with that name.
Mhm.
What about
Alice?
as I was falling asleep last night, I thought of your niece and I was like,
So she did go by Alana,
Yeah, that I remember.
but now she goes by Ellis.
Ellis.
Yeah.
E-L-L-I-S.
Ellis. Yes.
What's her last name?
Crawford. Yeah. I was thinking about this yesterday too. And I'm sure I should do this on a Google search. So she goes by, firstly, it's not she, they. They're non-binary.
Right.
And then I was thinking, so they're not my niece.
They're your Miefling.
Is that it?
Mieflings.
I don't know what it is.
Miefling.
Sure, that's what it is. Miefling. Is that right, actually? You know that?
I mean, I don't know about the they thing, but I know that your niece or nephew is your Miefling.
Oh, okay. There you go. Now I know.
But it's singular, and I don't know what the. I get confused, a bit confused with the plural
Yeah.
dimensions of they.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would be.
They're my Mieflings.
That seems. Whatever.
I'm sure once you get it, you just get it and you're fluid with it.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
That's what I'm going with.
Cool.
Yeah. So strange though. I didn't think about that. No Videosaggers, no grants.
Did I tell you that Ishan's last name was like gonna be a toss up for a while, like
Yeah.
leading up to him being born? Apparently, no one felt strongly, and the only thing they definitely agreed on was that he was not going to end up with both. Guess what happened?
How'd they decide? It was just like,
He's a 12 syllable name.
guys. Wait, so what's his last name?
Ishan Vidyasagar Kanai.
Oh, they did get both. Sorry.
The one thing they.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's clever though. It's gonna. So he is a Videosagar. I mean, it comes first.
Yeah, but so it could also be a middle.
I guess so.
No, I don't think it's his middle name. Oh, but then he would have to be a hyphenate, which I don't think he is. We need to get this straightened out.
Oh, I thought you meant it was a hyphenate.
I mean, I haven't seen his birth certificate.
You need to get his birth certificate. I mean, he's probably gonna pick one.
Well, I think, at least at the daycare, all of his labels and stuff say P. Not just P. It says the whole thing.
Yeah.
Narish's last name is 2 syllables longer than my last name.
That's a lot. That's a lot of syllables.
It's so many syllables. He's going to kick their asses.
It's good. We're all like getting better at long names.
He can say it.
He can, Ishan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
He
can.
can say his full name.
Oh my god, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's too smart, dude.
He's gonna be reading soon, I bet.
He's not so into the writing, but my mother thinks it's because people aren't really engaging him with it. He hasn't been practicing.
Already?
Hmm?
You would like practice with him already?
My mom thinks he should have done a lot of things a long time ago.
Really? Okay.
Like, he's not a super coherent drawer, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Coherent being, like, things that make sense.
Yeah.
Very basically. And I couldn't tell if that was, like, oh, he's just not a visual artist, or if it was, I don't know, because I don't know how people, I don't know how old you are when stuff happens, you know? You have to know some babies in order to
I feel like it's
know
changing.
what's normal.
It's changing though. My
What's
friend's kid is like 4 years old, and he's been able to read for at least a year now.
Mhm.
And I was really surprised by that. But apparently, I don't know. And they didn't even push it. He just like picked up books one day and was like, "Yeah, I'm reading now."
Huh?
Yeah. I think he just got tired of being read to, and like he picked it up.
I don't think that's how that works
I
with
don't
normal
know.
kids.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm positive that's not how it works. He must be like
I learned
special
how-
in a way that is a little
maybe.
staggering.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Like I learned to read when I was 6. And now that
I
seems
learned to
like
read last week.
no, really. Now that seems like I'm an idiot. Like I was slow.
It seems like I'm an idiot. I'm not sure what it is. Oh yeah, I remember what I'm looking for. Basically, I don't know how old you are when stuff happens,
Mhm.
and what's normal and what's not. He is not very advanced, I don't think, in the like visual, like all his drawings are just kind of like a hot mess. And when I thought was saying maybe that was normal, my mother was like, bullshit. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And then she produced dated drawings of ours.
Mhm.
And she's right. Yeah, so this is a drawing of mine from, and I definitely was not super like an artist. 85. So this was October of 85. 1.5 years old.
Okay.
Ishan's 2.5.
Yeah.
And he doesn't draw anything recognizable.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's not a big drawer. He's not a big writer. I could see him being able to read and recognize things much before he recreates them with his hands, if that makes sense.
Mhm. I think some people just aren't interested in
Aren't interested in.
art. There was some video you showed me of like some art class, and he was just doing his own thing. Am I right? It was like a wheel, and you
Yes.
you put like paint
was his
on,
birthday.
and then it created. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not at all engaged with the result.
Right.
Like he was putting a lot of paint on it in a way that it was just going to end up like a solid
Yeah.
thing. He wasn't like deliberately making any kind of anything.
Yeah.
That's his birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think he's just like, great? He's not goal oriented. He's just enjoying the free form.
I don't know. I mean,
Maybe he's drawing something, and you just don't know.
no, like we've played
Yeah.
like draw this and guess what it is type of thing.
Yeah.
And the most coherent is when he did something like that. And he was like, it's noodles. And I was like, yeah, it kind of is. But then every drawing looks like noodles. Yeah, he doesn't like. Yeah, I guess it's just like a way of relating to the. Anyway. But he hears you say one thing and he's like picked it up. He's extremely quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how the different dimensions of.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you could draw a coherent face at 1.5.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, do you like me to see if you want to? Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything long term though. Like maybe some things just develop at different ages for different people.
Yeah, I'm not saying it does because obviously I'm not a music artist. What did we read?
We we should probably get to it. We finished book 13.
What is even happening?
13 was not my favorite.
It was whack.
It was a bit whack. We were very confused about. So the French soldiers are just on the run. They're completely demoralized and like destroyed, apparently.
Yeah, disintegrating basically.
Yeah. It doesn't, and as much as he's like, oh yeah, it was because of Moscow or it was because of like what happened at Borodino.
He's like, there's no reason for anything.
Yeah.
But it's to the point where like, this is kind of like one of the struggles of this author, I feel like, is that you kind of are like, there's no way to like tell the story in any kind of coherent way. You're just like, and then this happened, and then that.
Yeah, except he's telling a story. Very strange.
He seems to be. Yeah, it is odd.
Yeah, like you have to tell an order of events, and one thing has to come before the.
And you have to decide what to include and what not to include.
Definitely. Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know why they left Moscow. That's a major confusion thing. Yeah. We could easily have Googled this.
But can we trust them, those historians?
Well, that's what I was saying. He's driving us right into the arms of the historians. I don't think that's what he wants.
He's also talking about, like, 19th century historians. Maybe today's historians are better. Maybe.
Are they?
Have you ever met a historian? Do we still have historians?
Yes.
Is that a profession?
I mean, it's one of those things where all of them are academics and they write books, but yeah.
They write books. They just write about history, and that makes you a historian?
What? Some random person on who's Quora?
It's a question.
I know, but like I've never said it out loud. I've never seen it. And I just tried to say it out loud. It sounds like nothing.
I think it's a query.
Napoleon's army resorted to killing all the crows and other birds, and when there was no food left, they had to retreat. Spoilers.
No.
There were both military and political dangers that could be foreseen if the French go to winter in Moscow.
So if they had stayed. But speculation. You don't know what would have happened if they had wintered in Moscow.
Oh my god, there's a map. I almost can't look. Yeah, there's not a ton about. This is all about the road back and how it just like withers away. Okay, this is something to do later. Because now it's book 14 o'clock.
Whew. Book 14 of 15, I just want to add.
What the fuck?
Now there's 2 epilogues. But Yeah, the story's almost over.
Jeunesse is still hiding what she learned from her.
More and more, I think it's not that exciting.
Well, I'll beat the charge of that. Okay. Book 14. 1812 still.
Chapter 1. The Battle of Borodino, with the occupation of Moscow that followed it, and the flight of the French without further conflicts, is one of the most instructive phenomena in history.
How is that if you can't derive? Okay. All historians agree that the external activities of states and nations in their conflict. Don't you want to hear what all the historians
let's
agree?
hear about those historians again.
Well, they all agree.
Did we ever talk about how, like, it might just be, like, one historian
Yes, we did.
that he's, like...
He hates one doctor, one historian, one...
Right, and he just wrote this book for them.
Yeah, well, who else does he shit on?
Germans.
Medicine. German. How could I forget Germans? Historians, doctors, Germans. This is how I would be if I wrote a book. All my weird little stand-ups are just objectively bad people.
Yeah.
Like that would probably come out. And Michael's. I mean, Mike's. Sorry, where were we?
I want to read this book.
Which book?
This book about stand-up comedians and Michaels. Not
If there
necessarily the same.
I know, but imagine if there were. I mean, I'm sure there is. But what stand-ups are named Michael? Mike
I don't know.
Birbiglia? I like him.
Is he a Michael? Mike Birbiglia. Yeah. You know,
Are there
like
Mikes
how,
that are not Michaels?
no, you know how like you hear names like a full name and you no longer know what that person's name is.
So you mean you thought his name could be Mike Burr?
Bruh. Yeah. Is it Buh or Bruh?
Burr.
His name is also something where I'm like, I just try to get close, and then I'm like, yeah, that was it. Mike Birbiglia.
Or do you think his name was Mai, and his last name was Birbiglia?
Yeah, I think I thought it was that.
Mike
And I'm
Birbiglia.
just gonna be like, hey, if ever I meet him, when I meet him, obviously, be like, hi, my Birbiglia.
Right. So all historians,
Mhm.
they agree that the external activity of states and nations in their conflicts with one another is expressed in wars. Cool. And that as a direct result of greater or less success in war, the political strength of states and nations increases or decreases.
Strange as may be the historical account of how some king or emperor, having quarreled with another, collects an army, fights his enemy's army, gains a victory by killing 3, 5, or 10,000 men, and subjugates a kingdom and an entire nation of several millions. All the facts of history, as far as we know it, confirm the truth of the statement that the greater or lesser success of one army against another is the cause, or at least an essential indication, of an increase or decrease in the strength of the nation. Even though it is unintelligible why the defeat of an army, 100th part of a nation, should oblige that whole nation to submit. An army gains a victory, and at once the rights of the conquering nation have increased to the detriment of the defeated. An army has suffered defeat, and at once a people loses its right in proportion to the severity of the reverse. And if its army suffers a complete defeat, the nation is quite subjugated.
So according to history, it has been found from the most ancient times, and so it is our own day. All Napoleon's wars serve to confirm this rule. In proportion to the defeat of the Austrian army, Austria loses its rights, and the rights and the strength of France increase. The victories of the French at Jena and Auerstadt destroy the... I'm sure it's not Jena. And Auerstadt destroy the independent existence of Prussia.
Jenna?
It just doesn't seem like that's what it is.
But then, in 1812, the French gain a victory near Moscow. Moscow is taken, and after that, with no further battles, it is not Russia that ceases to exist, but the French army of 600,000, and then Napoleonic France itself. To strain the facts to fit the rules of history, to say that the field of battle at Borodino remained in the hands of the Russians, or that after Moscow there were other battles that destroyed Napoleon's army is impossible. See, that was the last battle.
What's impossible?
To say that,
The field remained in the hands of the Russians.
yeah, say that there were other battles after Borodino is impossible. I think it's possible, but he's saying no.
It's pretty possible. What about Tarantino?
Yeah, I was just thinking that was a battle. Or was it not? Was it a skirmish or something else? Conflict.
Scrimmage.
Yeah, scrimmage. Ooh, like it.
After the French victory at Borodino, there was no general engagement nor any that were at all serious, yet the French army ceased to exist. What does this mean? If it were an example taken from the history of China, we might say that it was not an historic phenomenon, which is the historian's usual expedient when anything does not fit their standards. If the matter concerned some brief conflict in which only a small number of troops took part, we might treat it as an exception. But this event occurred before our fathers' eyes, and for them it was a question of the life or death of their fatherland, and it happened in the greatest of all known wars.
The period of the campaign of 1812, from the Battle of Borodino to the expulsion of the French.
Is he saying that nobody knows what the fuck happens in China? Because he's like, but this one happened before our father's eyes. What about Chinese people's father's eyes?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't know what history of China he's referring to.
And
Occurred before our father's eyes.
everything occurred before someone's
I think
father's
he's
eyes.
talking specifically of Russia.
Okay.
I think we're in the R again. You know, like us Russians. I think.
It's so weird when he goes in and out of that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, the period of the campaign.
The period of the campaign of 1812, from the Battle of Borodino to the expulsion of the French, proves that the winning of a battle does not produce a conquest, and is not even an invariable indication of conquest. It proves that the force which decides the fate of people lies not in the conquerors, nor even in armies and battles, but in something else.
The French historians, describing the condition of the French army before it left Moscow, affirmed that all was in order in the Grand Army except the cavalry, the artillery, and the transport. There was no forage for the horses or the cattle. That was a misfortune no one could remedy. Okay. So they left because there wasn't any food for the horses and cattle?
All was in order.
Yeah, there was no hay.
I don't know if that's like why they left. It just says that like all was in order except for that.
Right. So that the French are saying that this is the only possible reason.
That was a misfortune, no good remedy for the peasants of the district buying their hay.
There was no forage for the horses or the cattle. That was a misfortune no one could remedy, for the peasants of the district burned their hay rather than let the French have it.
The victory gained did not bring the usual results, because the peasants Karp and Vlas, who after the French had evacuated Moscow, drove in their carts to pillage the town, and in general personally failed to manifest any heroic feelings, and the whole innumerable multitude of such peasants did not bring their hay to Moscow for the high price offered them, but burned it instead.
So Russia's like Afghanistan, basically.
Mm.
Let us imagine two men who have come out to fight a duel. We don't need to, there were. With rapiers according to all the rules of the art of fencing. The fencing has gone on for some time. Suddenly one of the combatants, feeling himself wounded and understanding that the matter is no joke but concerns his life, throws down his rapier and, seizing the first cudgel that comes to hand, begins to brandish it. Then let us imagine that the combatant who so sensibly employed the best and simplest means to attain his end was at the same time influenced by traditions of chivalry, and desiring to conceal the facts of the case, insisted that he had gained his victory with the rapier, according to all the rules of art.
One can imagine what confusion and obscurity would result from such an account of the duel. The fencer who demanded a contest according to the rules of fencing was the French army. His opponent, who threw away the rapier and snatched up the cudgel, was the Russian people. Those who try to explain the matter according to the rules of fencing are the historians, who have described the event.
After the burning of Smolensk, a war began which did not follow any previous traditions of war. The burning of towns and villages, the retreats after battles, the blow dealt at Borodino, and the renewed retreat, the burning of Moscow, the capture of marauders, the seizure of transports, and the guerrilla war were all departures from the rules.
Napoleon felt this, and from the time he took up the correct fencing attitude in Moscow, and instead of his opponent's rapier saw a cudgel raised above his head, he did not cease to complain to Kutuzov and to the Emperor Alexander that the war was being carried on contrary to all the rules, as if there were any rules for killing people. In spite of the complaints of the French as to the non-observance of the rules, in spite of the fact that to some highly placed Russians it seemed rather disgraceful to fight with a cudgel, and they wanted to assume a pose en quatre or en tierce, according to all the rules, and to make an adroite thrust en prime, and so on, the cudgel of the People's War was lifted with all its menacing and majestic strength. And without consulting anyone's tastes or rules, and regardless of anything else, it rose and fell with stupid simplicity, but consistently, and belabored the French, till the whole invasion had perished.
And it is well for a people who do not, as the French did in 1813, salute according to all the rules of art, and presenting the hilt of their rapier, gracefully and politely, hand it to their magnanimous conqueror, but at the moment of trial, without asking what rules others have adopted in similar cases, simply and easily pick up the first cudgel that comes to hand and strike with it till the feeling of resentment and revenge in their soul yields to a feeling of contempt and compassion.
So what's the cudgel?
Literally?
Why is he saying that Russia fought? I know it's not dirty, but it's kind of like Russia fought dirty.
Because they didn't play along.
Play along with what though?
Like they burned their hay instead of taking money for it.
Mm. So it's like literally the Russian people, not so much like the generals or soldiers. Okay.
Yeah. They would rather burn their shit
than be taken over. Yeah.
Which is how it's always gone in Afghanistan as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to like win the people somehow.
Yeah.
With whatever means.
Right.
You know, whether it's whatever the means is. But if the people don't accept you, then like the body will keep rejecting a piercing sometimes.
Right. So it's not just the
ultimately they need the cooperation. They need cooperation.
Yeah, it's not just the army that can affect a war.
Certainly not after Moscow's been taken over. You know? But like, how do cities act when they're taken over? Usually everyone's like, okay, that's something. And there are very, very few places in history that nobody has done that. That's why when the US went into Afghanistan, everyone was like, you don't know what
You know what I watched last night? And it was like perfectly fitting. I saw this as a kid. Have you ever watched The Great Dictator?
No.
Charlie Chaplin?
I haven't seen it.
It's great. And I mean, obviously, but it is. It's so great. And it's like so relevant still. It's very funny, but like brutally funny. Yeah.
Cool.
That speech at the end. Do you know anything about it? There's like this 3-minute long like speech where
Is this a spoiler?
maybe it is. I'll just let you watch it. But it's amazing. There's this one scene, this doesn't spoil anything. There's this one scene where like he's the dictator, whatever, and it's just this long scene of him playing with like a balloon globe, just like flouncing it around in his office, and it just goes on and on and on, and it's so mesmerizing. Yeah. Chapter 2.
One of the most obvious and advantageous departures from the so-called laws of war is the action of scattered groups against men pressed together in a mass. Such action always occurs in wars that take on a national character. In such actions, instead of two crowds opposing each other, the men disperse, attack singly, run away when attacked by stronger forces, but again attack when opportunity offers. This was done by the guerrillas in Spain, by the mountain tribes in the Caucasus, and by the Russians in 1812.
People have called this kind of war guerrilla warfare and assume that by so calling it they have explained its meaning. But such a war does not fit under any rule and is directly opposed to a well-known rule of tactics which is accepted as infallible.
But you just described it.
But it cannot be known.
Okay.
We can only take stabs in the dark.
How come we knew what you meant then?
Yeah. That rule says that an attacker should concentrate his forces in order to be stronger than his opponent at the moment of conflict.
Guerrilla war, always successful, as history shows, directly infringes that rule.
This contradiction arises from the fact that military science assumes the strength of an army to be identical with its numbers. Military science says that the more troops, the greater the strength. Les gros bataillons ont toujours raison.
For military science to say this is like defining momentum in mechanics by referring to the mass only, stating that momenta are equal or unequal to each other simply because the masses involved are equal or unequal.
Momentum, quantity of motion, is the product of mass and velocity.
In military affairs, the strength of an army is the product of its mass and some unknown x.
Military science, seeing in history innumerable instances of the fact that the size of any army does not coincide with its strength and that small detachments defeat larger ones, obscurely admits the existence of this unknown factor and tries to discover it, now in a geometric formation, now in the equipment employed, now and most usually in the genius of the commanders. But the assignment of these various meanings to the factor does not yield results which accord with the historic facts.
Yet it is only necessary to abandon the false view adopted to gratify the heroes of the efficacy of the directions issued in wartime by commanders in order to find this unknown quantity.
That unknown quantity is the spirit of the army, that is to say, the greater or lesser readiness to fight and face danger felt by all the men composing an army, quite independently of whether they are or are not fighting under the command of a genius, in 2 or 3 line formation with cudgels or with rifles that repeat 30 times a minute. Men who want to fight will always put themselves in the most advantageous conditions for fighting.
The spirit of an army is the factor which, multiplied by the mass, gives the resulting force. To define and express the significance of this unknown factor, the spirit of an army is a problem for science.
This problem is only solvable if we cease arbitrarily to substitute for the unknown X itself the conditions under which that force becomes apparent, such as the commands of the general, the equipment employed, and so on, mistaking these for the real significance of the factor. And if we recognize this unknown quantity in its entirety as being the greater or lesser desire to fight and to face danger, only then, expressing known historic facts by equations and comparing the relative significance of this factor, can we hope to define the unknown.
10 men, battalions or divisions, fighting 15 men, battalions or divisions, conquer, that is, kill or take captive all the others, while themselves losing 4, so that on the one side 4 and on the other 15 were lost. Consequently, the 4 were equal to the 15, and therefore 4x equals 15y. Consequently, x over y equals 15 over 4. This equation does not give us the value of the unknown factor, but gives us a ratio between 2 unknowns. I know you guys got that.
What?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And by bringing variously selected historic units, battles, campaigns, periods of war, into such equations, a series of numbers could be obtained in which certain laws should exist and might be discovered. Wait, so he's saying There are no equations. Here's the equation.
I don't know if he's being funny again.
I don't think he is, because he's talking about the spirit of the army. He does not fucking joke about
But
that.
he's like, okay, so let's define this quantity in a real.
He's
What
no,
are we
he's not
measuring?
saying he's not saying we can figure out how much X is or Y is, but it gives you the ratio.
I mean, so far. But it seems like, yeah, he's trying to define this unknowable thing and make it knowable.
Maybe not quantitatively,
Okay.
which you can tell by the fact that he's using numbers.
So you can just like, so there's just a ratio, like our spirit's better than yours?
I have no idea.
The tactical rule that an army should act in masses when attacking and in smaller groups in retreat unconsciously confirms the truth that the strength of an army depends on its spirit. To lead men forward under fire, more discipline, obtainable only by movement in masses, is needed to resist attacks. But this rule, which leaves out of account the spirit of the army, continually proves incorrect, and is particularly striking contrast to the facts when some strong rise or fall in the spirit of the troops occurred, as in all national wars.
I don't know what the fuck is going on. The French, retreating in 1812, though according to tactics they should have separated into detachments to defend themselves, congregated into a mass because the spirit of the army had so fallen that only the mass held the army together. The Russians, on the contrary, ought, according to tactics, to have attacked in mass, but in fact they split up into small units because their spirit had so risen that separate individuals, without orders, dealt blows at the French without needing any compulsion to induce them to expose themselves to hardships and dangers.
Okay, so we're saying that like when there isn't spirit, then you have to find strength in numbers because people can't like motivate them.
Then you are only
themselves
left
alone.
with finding strength in numbers.
Yeah.
Not that then that's the right thing to do for the rest. I don't think it's prescriptive as much as descriptive.
Okay. The spirit of the army.
Yes.
Do you believe in that?
Mhm.
Like it makes me think about why does anyone succeed where like another person fails? And everyone always points to motivation. I'm very suspect about motivation.
What's motivation?
Exactly.
What do you mean everyone always points?
This is more of the everyone.
Who is this pointing to what?
Okay, not everyone, but a lot of people are like, but I lack motivation. Like this kind of sounds like the spirit of the army.
Yeah, but only
Motivation.
losers say that.
Cool. I was talking to a friend who was like, you seem very motivated. I don't know. He was very like caught up on like motivation. He's like, you seem very motivated. Like he wasn't working out or I don't know. The quarantine was kind of getting to him. And I was like, I don't think I'm motivated. I was like, I don't think I rely on motivation. I think that's a trap people fall into.
What is motivation?
Motivation is like inspiration. Like, yeah, I want to do it. It's like, why?
I think that's too vague of a word.
It's why you run in front of the army and you give a speech. You think it's too vague a word? Motivation?
Yeah, I don't really know what we're talking about.
It's that like, it's a heart feeling.
It's the spirit of the army?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the spirit of the army.
But I actually think it's super fleeting. And it doesn't really amount to anything.
Well, that's what everyone in my Instagram feed says.
What?
That it's not about like really your feelings.
Yeah. It's like about your consistency. Like at some point you're not going to want to do this.
Of course, that's a given.
Yeah.
You cannot only wait to. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. You can, but it is not. You will not form as consistent of a habit or a practice or an action if you only rely on feeling.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, what is the spirit of the army? Like, oh, great. So the Russians are really feeling it right now.
Yeah, but you can know the difference between feeling it and not feeling it.
I do. But do you agree with that assessment?
Which assessment?
Like what Tolstoy is saying.
Yes.
Yeah?
I mean, I don't know about all the math because a lot of that went over my head.
Yeah.
But from what I've gotten about what he's saying in general, yeah, 100%.
Mm.
I don't have like a name necessarily for it.
Mm-hmm.
Motivation feels like a meaningless word to me.
Mm. What's your word for that then?
I don't have one.
Okay.
I don't have one because I feel like there are several components.
Mm-hmm.
One being magic. I'm actually kind of serious. And another being practicum.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as much as you can get both of those things there, the better. So you can't be a genius ball player without practicing. You also can't be a genius ball player if you have no like gut or drive or heart or like motivation or willpower or whatever the it's what's it called in physics? Activation energy.
Yeah.
Like you need something to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit like trying to find activation energy along with the rules of inertia that mean the more used to moving you are, the more easy it's going to be to move.
Yeah, like don't you get activation energy from activating?
No. Physics? No, not in physics. Like there has to be an input of energy into a system.
Yeah.
For then something to happen.
Right. There needs to be something. Okay.
But then once something is in motion.
Yeah. Like I'm curious, like how much your like commitment to something, your passion for something, I think grows.
Those are
as
two
you
different
put
words.
Energy into it.
Commitment to something, passion for something.
Yeah, I know they're different. I think they both grow. Like the more you invest, the more, maybe not that, the more you want to do it. Like the more you have that whatever activation energy for it.
I think the more you have inertia.
Yeah.
Because once you're doing it, you get that momentum for the thing that is self-creating. I don't think that gives you activation energy though. Like I could see you investing and basically just being like in a coast. Where like your momentum is taking you.
Yeah.
And there's not much extra.
So mysterious. I can see
I know, that's why I said it was magic.
Yeah. I don't know if it's mysterious though. It's just like still muddy.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Muddy for us is mysterious. So we can't see it. And I don't think anybody knows.
I think some people like can kind of claim to know how it works for them. Maybe they don't really know.
I don't think anyone does. I think like if Michael Jordan can't tell you what he's doing, then nobody can. Like if people who are at the height of any kind of discipline where there are equal amounts of like practice and performance, like just showing up magic,
Mhm.
are always like, they can only tell you what they did.
Yeah.
I don't think they can tell you what's happening.
And they can't really tell you like how or why they did it. Like how it came to be
That it worked.
that it worked and that like they even went after it in the way that they did.
I think that part is can be in the land of the tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, do you mean like what even got them to the gym at 6 a.m?
There's something of that, like what got them to the gym at 6 a.m. It's just like another person could like receive the same, I don't know, whatever, like read something in a book or have like the same thought flit across their mind or whatever it is and not go. And for whatever reason, they did. And that is mysterious.
Yeah, but I do think there are other people who went to the gym at 6 a.m. who aren't Michael Jordan.
Yeah, right.
It's just like successful actors.
Mm-hmm.
The most like successful actors aren't necessarily the best actors. It's like some amalgamation of like doing the thing, but also something else that like who even knows what that is.
Yeah. Do you want to read another chapter? 706.
706. No, I think I actually, because I need to eat something before. I just realized.
So we're just doing a short one.
Sorry, thank you.
For George.
Your grandfather.
Oops.
The greatest.
So happy birthday, George. And yeah, happy Sunday, all of you guys.
Oh yeah, it's Sunday.
Yeah. It's a long weekend, I think. Is it a long weekend here in America?
A long weekend for what?
I don't know. Like, just for having a long weekend.
What? There's no long weekends for no reason in America.
Well, okay, so in Canada, it's Victoria's Day tomorrow.
You mean the Queen?
Yeah. We celebrate Queen Victoria.
Yeah, as like wonderful and evolved all of these like Commonwealth countries are, I'm always like, yeah, but you guys celebrate the Queen, so
Yeah, it's just so we can like, I don't know, keep up to date on.
I mean, could it be
it's-
Memorial Day?
It's National Patriots Day in America.
Where?
I think here.
Mine doesn't say that.
No? Maybe that's more of Canada. Patriots Day.
That sounds very American.
So maybe it's nothing.
Maybe it's a whole bunch of nothing.
Maybe it's nothing. But it's Sunday. So.
Maybe it's not even a long weekend. Maybe it's not even a long Sunday.
Remember when people used to watch Game of Thrones on Sunday? Sundays were a big event. I don't think anything is an event anymore.
It's true, there are no more events.
Okay.
Bye. Ever since you've talked about